A river with countless towns on both banks. A fully laden large ship can sail from Guangzhou to the great city of Hanbali. At the end of the 13th century, the Italian merchant Marco Polo recounted his memorable journey along China's Grand Canal at the city of Guangzhou. 200 years later, another Italian traveler, filled with anticipation, made a note next to a city in the margins of a copy of the travels of Marco Polo, wistfully commenting, "Infinite business opportunities." This city was none other than Hanbali, or Beijing, at the other end of the canal. By this time, the Ming dynasty's Yongle emperor had already relocated his capital to Beijing to guard the northern frontier. China's political center in the north and its economic center in the south were once again connected by the Grand Canal. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, in its most glorious era, the Grand Canal went beyond its functional role of sustaining the national economy. By facilitating not only domestic commerce, but also trade with the outside world, it also paved the way for a cultural transformation, weaving a unique and splendid scene in the history of human civilization. To enable the construction of the Yongle Emperor's Grand Palace, the Forbidden City, Beijing's neglected Huitong River was refurbished. Large quantities of manpower, materials, and goods were shipped in from the south. Tongzhou, the northernmost dock of the Grand Canal, lies in the eastern outskirts of Beijing. Every day, countless officials, craftsmen, and merchants disembarked here, transferring to carriages and horses to enter the capital. In this massive migration, grains and building materials that were much needed in the north converged at the canal's docks.
通过大运河运到北京的这些建筑材料啊，尤其是北上的这样的一些木材，竭全国之人力物力，才能建成这样的一个紫禁城。
With the construction of the Forbidden City, a royal garden also gradually took shape. Within this imperial garden, more than 50 miniature mountains were built up. Among them, the prominent Duatio Stone Mountain, made out of stacked Taihu rocks and reaching 14 meters in height, added to the sense that the vast palace was a self-contained kingdom.
尽管这御花园是微缩的山水。 是叠出的山，理出的水，但是呢，它是天下山河的一个象征，所以呢，它就有一个移田缩地、在君怀的这样的一个象征的意味在。
The garden is adorned with different kinds of classical garden rocks, such as Taihu stones, Lingbi stones, and Ingda stones, sourced from regions along the Grand Canal and its tributary branches. Because of their massive size, these rocks could only be transported over long distances by water. Beloved by scholars and therefore sometimes called scholars' rocks, these stones provided the royal garden with a fascinating landscape. Given their size and distant origins, the garden would not have been possible to create without the Grand Canal. The canal didn't just bring in building materials. Its waters also smoothed the flow of officials from the south, who harbored ambitions to climb through the ranks of the imperial government. Given the intrigues and scheming within the royal court, however, the positions they attained were never going to be as secure as the rocks in the Forbidden City. Among them was the renowned scholar Wen Ming. Known as one of the four talents of areas south of the Yangtze River, he failed to assimilate into the Beijing court and decided to retire to his hometown. In the winter of 1526, he traveled southward along the canal, but became trapped on the frozen Luhe River by ice. Beneath the vast northern sky, the land was frozen, desolate, and bleak. Beneath the ice, however, flowed a surging current awaiting release. Similar to his state of mind at the time, he urgently relied on this waterway to journey southward, seeking another refuge in life. In the eyes of Wen Ming, Suzhou was nothing short of a paradise on earth. The Grand Canal winds its way around the city, with a dense network of waterways running through it. Convenient water transportation and strong local industry enabled Suzhou to sustain prosperity and abundance over the long term. The locals of Suzhou valued literature. Many also pursued official careers. After retiring and returning to their hometowns, literati and scholars found solace in building gardens for their own enjoyment. Gardens became the embodiment of material culture for scholars during the mid to late Ming dynasty. After returning to Suzhou, Wen Ming became a frequent visitor to the humble administrator's garden of his friend, Wang Xianchen. He took on the responsibility of designing its later stages, pouring his emotions into its landscape.
温之敏的这种心态呢，实际上也表现了明朝中后期大部分文人，特别是江南文人的一种积极山林、与世成佛、享受生活、闲居的一种价值取向。反过来呢，我们当时的江南园林受了文人的影响，迎合了文人的一种价值取向。
Wen Ming created a total of 31 paintings of the humble administrator's garden, collectively titled 31 Scenes of the Humble Administrator's Garden. These paintings showcase the garden's waterscape, for which it was renowned.
文人往往是借着山水寄情，山之厚道，水之灵动，给人家造成的一种影像是相当活泼、自由的。
Private gardens in areas south of the Yangtze River followed the path of literati gardens. While imperial gardens emphasized grand mountains, literati gardens embraced the joy of water. The gardens in the north were characterized by grandeur. Those in the south were known for their delicacy. Typified by those in Suzhou, southern gardens aimed to imitate natural landscapes in small spaces, providing ever-changing scenery with each step.
它跟我们皇家园林里面大而笨重完全是相反的一曲，而且是非常小巧玲珑，能够体现个人的一种特色追求的。
An aesthetic pursuit of nature and unconventionality is engraved in the genes of gardens in areas south of the Yangtze River. Literati scholars created mountains with rocks and lakes with water, symbolizing a retreat into an imaginary wilderness. Influenced by both nature and culture, they cultivated their characters, found joy and contentment, and achieved harmony in their own private worlds. In the centuries that followed, the styles of gardens at both ends of the canal continued to blend. As early as the beginning of the Yuan dynasty, in order to meet the water transportation needs of the capital Dadu, as Beijing was then known, water from the Baifu Spring in the city's north and other streams along the way was diverted into Kunming Lake, resulting in numerous lakes in the area. During the Qing dynasty, the construction of imperial gardens naturally could not overlook this precious site. In preparation for his mother's 60th birthday, Emperor Qianlong ordered the construction of a magnificent imperial garden, with Kunming Lake as its centerpiece, which is now known as the Summer Palace. Highlighting their royal elegance, the buildings in the garden were painted in bold primary colors, with yellow-green glazed tiles on their roofs, juxtaposed with red pillars and colorful door frames. The layout of the buildings adhered to strict royal symmetry, although within this grand imperial garden, there was also a hint of the gentle and delicate style of areas south of the Yangtze River. The year after the construction of the Summer Palace began, Emperor Qianlong embarked on his first southern inspection tour. He made 6 trips to the south during his lifetime, always traveling by boat along the Grand Canal. Qianlong's mother accompanied him on several occasions, traveling south via the canal to explore the landscapes, gardens, and bustling markets in areas south of the Yangtze River. Her preference for the local scenery there had a direct influence on the construction of the Summer Palace. Upon returning to the capital, Emperor Qianlong, to please his mother, had his designers replicate Suzhou's Shantong Street within the Summer Palace. The palace's so-called Suzhou Street is a water street that was created exclusively for the enjoyment of the emperors and empresses of the Qing dynasty. Along its sides are various shops, including antique shops, dessert stalls, and tea houses. When royal family members visited it, the roles of merchants and customers in the shops were played by eunuchs and palace maids, creating a lively atmosphere in imitation of the bustling water towns in areas south of the Yangtze River. Thanks to the Grand Canal, the grandeur of this imperial palace was mixed with the gentleness of Suzhou and Hangzhou, creating a new blend of northern and southern styles, and ultimately forming a unique symbol of Chinese culture. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, garden designs were widely depicted on carved beams, folding fans, and even porcelain. As bulk cargo transported by water, porcelain carried these new symbols abroad, spreading Chinese garden aesthetics overseas, and creating another world's perfect imagination of the East.
From 1598, the first ships picking up Chinese porcelain that were already bringing in Chinese porcelain. There was a very strong influence of Chinese porcelain on everything in art in the 17th century in the Netherlands. Also, Dutch painters like Johannes Vermeer, who lived here in the city also, started to paint the wares on his paintings.
Through global trade, Western artists like Johannes Vermeer living by the canals of Delft in the Netherlands could acquaint themselves with Eastern aesthetics without leaving their homes, frequently incorporating these elements into their artworks. With the export of ceramics, Chinese garden scenes depicted on them gradually entered the view of Europeans. Within these garden scenes lay glimpses of Chinese lifestyles, unveiling a corner of the mysterious East and satisfying the long-standing curiosity of Westerners, dating back to the publication of the travels of Marco Polo. The European fascination with this Chinese aesthetic stemmed directly from the landscapes along the Grand Canal. During this period, China itself was undergoing constant change, borne along ceaselessly by the flow of goods and people along the Grand Canal. Shangzi town in Suzhou is famous for its silk weaving industry. Just as the canal facilitated the construction of the exquisite private gardens of scholars, it also drove the development of artisanal crafts. Every spring and summer, the silk workshops in Shangzi town become bustling with activity. Local embroiderers begin their work early in the day, a busy scene that has been common along the banks of the canal since the mid-Ming dynasty. China's economy was in decline during the early Ming dynasty, and there was much to be done to revitalize it. The dynasty's founding emperor Zhu Yuanzhang actively encouraged the development of agriculture and sericulture to restore production and increase income. Mulberry trees were extensively planted in areas south of the Yangtze River, where the climate is mild and humid, leading to abundant silk cocoon production. The silk weaving industry in the region flourished, as it continues to do today. In present-day Wuxi by Lake Taihu, the craft of hand-spinning silk is still practiced. "400 years ago, a young girl married into the Su family in northern Wuxi. Her superb skills and adept management propelled the family's textile workshop to prosperity, with over 20 looms at its peak. Taking advantage of the convenience of water transportation, their high-quality fabrics were exported far and wide, with demand exceeding supply. A few years later, a new life arrived in the household. The infant boy was named Su Xiaka, and his family's well-stocked library and other educational resources provided him with foundations he would build on to become a great geographer and travel writer. Although born into wealth, he had no ambitions for officialdom or the imperial examination. From a young age, he was intoxicated by the vastness of nature, harboring a desire to explore the mountains, rivers, and lakes to their fullest extent. Su's mother, with an open heart, personally sewed a traveling cap to encourage her son's dream to explore beyond the horizon. Su Xiaka was 22 years old when he set sail from Lake Taihu to embark on his lifelong journey of exploration. Before then, a life of such freedom and adventure was rare. The early Ming dynasty's government promoted agriculture, but it suppressed commerce and imposed strict restrictions on population movement. Traveling beyond 50 kilometers required a travel permit, and offenders faced corporal punishment. By Su Xiaka's time, however, thriving canal commerce had created favorable conditions for population mobility, providing more freedom for life choices. Today, ferries crossing the Yangtze River in Nanjing are crowded with locals, just as they have been for centuries. In 1570, the Huizhou merchant Huang Bian published his travel guide, Illustrated Route Book of the Realm in Unity. Written after traversing China on business for 30 years since his youth, it provides detailed information on 144 routes covering the entirety of Ming China, including the journey down the Grand Canal from Beijing to areas south of the Yangtze River. Particularly on water routes between cities south of the Yangtze, passengers could easily transfer between boats. This was similar to transferring between subway and bus lines today. A new economic and social order was rapidly forming along the canal. In the early 17th century, the writer Feng Minglong commented on society with the phrase first-rank officials, second-rank merchants, meaning the boundaries between social classes were becoming blurred. The stimulation of the market in areas south of the Yangtze River led to rapid commercialization in northern regions. There was a pressing need for a stable currency in markets along the canal, a currency that would subsequently have a widespread impact on the lives of ordinary people and global trade. Among the mountains of Suzhou in Anhui Province, scholar Kang Jian is researching the economic history of silver.
这几张地契呢，反映的这个都是来自祁门同一个地方三四都的，对吧？它是明朝不同时期的这个买卖情况。
In a personal collection belonging to an elderly man, he discovers crucial clues about silver transactions in the Mid-Ming dynasty.
这个价格呢是梅花银1两2钱，天圣元年8月25日。说明呢，这个时期的明代这个中期呢，这个商品经济的发展呢，比明代早期前期的那些用的宝钞和实物的这个货币，相对来说呢，商品经济已经向前发展一大步了，
很普遍的。
对。
In Chinese history, the transition of silver from a being a valuable commodity to a fully fledged currency occurred during the mid to late Ming dynasty. This transformation accompanied various pains associated with changes in the national currency system. At the beginning of the Ming dynasty, the circulation of gold and silver was prohibited. Copper coins were cumbersome and difficult to carry, while paper currency had become devalued because of overprinting, leading to resistance from the people. For a long time, there was no stable currency for market transactions, and barter even became prevalent. The disorder in the market hindered the development of the economy during the Ming dynasty, leading to the emergence of silver as a currency. This silver revolution from the grassroots level prompted policy changes. In the mid to late Ming dynasty, various provinces in the south began to levy taxes in silver instead of grain. Subsequently, the court allowed artisans required for service to pay in silver instead of their labor. The complete substitution of silver for labor and taxes was achieved in the late Ming dynasty.
往往是在运河流域在长江流域，这些徽商都占有十分重要地位。徽商在外面活动经营，把财富寄回家，这是一个直接原因。更大的一个背景呢，就是因为当时中国跟世界市场联系起来，这样呢，这白银就从让一些大市场流入到我们徽州这个偏僻的一个乡村中。
By now, silver had become an indispensable basic currency for both imperial taxation and the daily lives of common people. The canal-centered water network and the circulation of goods mediated by silver became the foundation of the national market, which in turn became a crucial link in global economic trade. Across the Pacific Ocean in Potosí, Bolivia, workers are mining for silver. The silver mines in this highland town have a history of 500 years. In the 16th century, silver production in the Spanish South American colonies surged. Overnight, Potosí became the largest city in South America. Through transoceanic trade, 1/3 to half of the silver from these American mines was imported into China. In the mid-16th century, because of insufficient domestic silver, a large amount of silver had to be imported from South America and Japan to meet demand in markets along the Grand Canal. Western countries and Japan, in turn, used silver to buy large quantities of expensive Chinese goods such as silk, porcelain, and tea. These goods, upon their arrival in European and Japanese markets, often fetched prices hundreds of times higher, yielding immense profits. The distant East became the site of Westerners' dreams of wealth. In addition to functioning as a conduit for goods, people, and silver, the canal was also a transmission route for strange tales.
上回书说到，唐僧师徒4人躲离了小西天，是继续西行。 这一路啊，正是春生花开之际。
在很多年里，关于《西游记》的作者，其实一直有争议，最后胡适认定是吴承恩。一个很重要的原因，就是因为《西游记》中有很多的淮扬元素，包括淮扬菜。
Common cattail is a popular ingredient among the people of the Huaiyang region of central Jiangsu. April marks the season when it comes to market. It is often cooked with dried, shelled shrimps and meat chunks to make classic dishes of Huaiyang cuisine. If you are passionate about Huaiyang cuisine and have also read Journey to the West, you will notice frequent mentions of it in the book. Even in the ancient Indus River region, where the locals entertained the master Xuanzang, the novel's protagonist, and his disciples, the banquet included common cattail.
喝了茶之后，饭菜也做得了，桌上摆的是满满登登啊，什么面筋呐、豆腐啊、鱼苗啊，什么香豆米饭呐、醋烧葵汤啊。用我们淮安话说啊，吃的那叫别他贼味。
就是唐僧师徒去西天取经，这一路上吃的全是淮扬菜，这个肯定是说明作者对淮扬菜特别熟悉，而且可能没有我们想象中的那样沿着师徒4人他走的这个路线做充分的田野调查。
As a native of Huaiyang by the Grand Canal, Wu Qingyan spent most of his life living at home there, except for short periods when he served as an official elsewhere. It was precisely because he was in Huaiyang that he could collect a large amount of material for stories from the folk tales and rumors along the Grand Canal.
你可以足不出户，就可以遍知天下事，因为你有足够的信息来源，而这些信息来源是由运河带过来的。五方杂处嘛，人来多了，相互交流，然后能够生发出来很多东西。
Wu Qingyan only needed to take a few steps out of his door to reach the Grand Canal, where he could meet travelers from the north and south and hear their intricate and bizarre stories. As the author himself said, he did not write only about gods and monsters, but also recorded the myriad facets of human life.
三藏心诚神力拥，悟空法显妖魔虽。师徒4人这一路，也不知前方还有多少艰难险阻。欲知后事如何，且听下回分解。
Among China's 4 great classical novels, Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Outlaws of the Marsh also originated in Huaiyang. With the flow of people and goods, popular literature rapidly grew and spread along the Grand Canal. Hangzhou native Huang Xiaojian is a frequent visitor to his local old book market, where he can access a wealth of information on the region's history. Huang is an expert in woodblock printing skill, so ancient books inspire him. The printing technique he uses flourished in areas around the Grand Canal, in regions south of the Yangtze River during the Ming dynasty, when book publishing and printing underwent explosive growth. This was another outcome of flourishing commerce and thriving markets along the Grand Canal. Publications of popular literature became essential commodities at various markets and for sellers in areas south of the Yangtze River. The trend even gave rise to book boats, a type of waterborne trade primarily focused on buying and selling books. Growing demand for popular reading materials among the citizenry and the rapid development of the publishing industry further spurred the creation of a large number of literary works. These works were disseminated through the canal and even reached overseas, becoming known worldwide.
大学1年の時に、中国語の勉強を始めたんですけれど、 でその時に、風貌流、フォン・モンロンの三言の中の、油売りの物語、マイヨーラントゥーチャンホアクイというその話を読んだんですね。
The flourishing of the publishing and printing industry during the Ming and Qing dynasties in China promoted the influx of a large number of popular novels into Japan.
でそういうことがあってもう江戸時代実は鎖国なんですけれど長崎を通してもう山のようにこう中国の書物が日本に入ってきました。江戸時代の人々にとって三国志や水滸伝っていうのは、ある意味誰でも知っている、物語であったと思います。読まれてたものは、明治時代になっても読まれるようになりますし、それからもちろん、現代になっても同じことで。
Even today, Japanese manga and games inspired by Chinese popular novels are wildly popular worldwide. Among them, the manga Dragon Ball, inspired by Journey to the West, is still hailed as a national treasure of Japan.
例えば今我々が普通に読んでいる、三国志だとか水滸伝だとか、それからその風貌流三言っていうのがありますけれど、こういうのはこういうそのいわゆる通俗小説あるいは通俗文学っていうのがこの明代の終わり特に江南地方に突然のようにいっぱい現れるんですね。これはほとんどほとんどの作品が、同じ時期に現れてます。その背景には、江南地方全体の、明代の末期という時代の経済的な繁栄、あの時代に特に大運河というのがありますけれどやっぱり江南地方の経済的な繁栄、それをまた支えたのは大運河っていうものの存在だろうと思いますね。はい。
Every year during the agricultural off-season, the Huizhou Opera Troupe of Huangtian Town in southern Anhui performs traditional Huizhou opera on an ancient stage for local villagers. This style of opera, characterized by its simple but rich flavor and humorous language delivered in a unique singing style, is very popular. In the 16th century, Huizhou opera troupes took their art form to Beijing, where it ultimately evolved into the national treasure of Peking opera that is loved across the country. This magnificent transformation also took place by means of the Grand Canal. It started with merchants from Huizhou traveling outside their mountainous home region on business. Over time, they ventured further and further up the canal. Along the banks of the Grand Canal, the city of Yangzhou in central Jiangsu has always had a rich culture of performances. At 7 o'clock in the morning, the tea houses of the city welcome their first customers, who enjoy breakfast while listening to traditional opera tunes, as they have been doing for centuries. With the Grand Canal flowing through the city, Yangzhou attracted a large number of merchants. During the late Ming and early Qing dynasties, the most influential group among the merchants in Yangzhou was the Huizhou merchants. With the strong support of the Huizhou merchants' abundant capital, various opera troupes flocked to Yangzhou, transforming it into China's southern center of opera. This was the first stepping stone for Huizhou opera to leave the countryside. In 1784, at the age of 73, Emperor Qianlong embarked on another southern inspection tour, with Yangzhou being one of his essential stops. Before his arrival, Huizhou merchants had prepared a large number of opera troupes for his entertainment. By this time, the Huizhou opera that Qianlong heard had absorbed characteristics of Kuanchu opera and incorporated Qinqiang opera singing techniques. This enriched its deep and solemn aspects, with a more vibrant and stirring character. Qianlong, an experienced opera enthusiast, greatly enjoyed the performances. 6 years later, on the occasion of Qianlong's 80th birthday, Huizhou opera troops from Yangzhou traveled to Beijing. They journeyed northward along the Grand Canal, creating momentum for the spreading popularity of their performing art. During its lengthy journey up the Grand Canal, Huizhou opera was continually evolving. Another influential canal city emerged. Linqing, located in the core area of the North China Plain, was a crucial stop for both northbound and southbound vessels. Due to the significant water level difference between the Huitong River and the Weihe River in Linqing, numerous locks were installed. Countless ships traveling between the north and the south had to queue up at these locks, leading merchants and travelers to disembark and wait, sometimes for months. During these stopovers, the stages set up on the docks were frequented by crowds of merchants and travelers. Lively drumming and music enlivened this once quiet town in the northwest of Shandong Province. The Huizhou opera troupe that once performed in Beijing and different troupes performing in Linqing were also quietly changing. The Chueqiang opera of Linqing we hear now carries traces of Qingqiang opera and Huizhou opera. It's a vivid product of an era of mixing and transformation of traditional Chinese opera styles. By absorbing the strengths of such different styles, Huizhou opera further developed and evolved, gathering momentum for its magnificent approaching transformation. Like the Huizhou opera performed in Yangzhou, Linqing's Chueqiang opera is a case study of cultural blending and evolution along the canal, where various operatic styles combined and eventually formed the quintessential Peking opera. Trade routes, waterways, and operatic tunes nurture and complement each other. By bringing northern and southern styles together and catalyzing their development, the canal propelled the art of Chinese opera onto ever greater stages. With its enchanting gardens, captivating stories, and exciting performances, the Grand Canal linking China's north and south created a series of cultural landscapes with a unique Eastern aesthetic. After flowing for many hundreds of years, this creative vitality continues today. The prosperity of cities along the canal has been the driver of this flourishing. Linqing, for example, is a town that owes its existence entirely to the canal. Linqing lies between the Huitong River and the South Canal on the western border of Shandong. After the Yongle era, when the Grand Canal was reopened, it became a crucial point along the waterway, serving as the gateway to the capital. Subsequently, a specialized agency was established in the town to supervise water transportation and collect taxes.
这个整个的曹河关的庭院啊，抗税的、打架斗殴的，都要在这儿审官司。公元1520年，曹官呀重新修缮的时候，记载的这么一通户部公堂，分司修缮碑，所以的这个银子啊，仓库里边周不下了，他才又扩大了这个仓库。
In the 6th year of the Wanli period in the late Ming dynasty, the Linqing tax office collected over 83,000 taels of silver, placing it first among the 8 such agencies in the country. Its contribution amounted to 1/4 of all national tax revenue from tolls.
运河上面的漕运的兴起，临清呢，也由原来的这个比较贫瘠之壤吧，变成了一个运来运往的商贾云集，这个繁强绿林。
By the early years of the reign of Emperor Qianlong in the Mid-Qing dynasty, the market in Linqing was already a hive of commerce, with trade extending south to Fujian and Guangdong and north to Liaoning. Huizhou opera troupes stopped in the town on their way to Beijing. Its theaters played to full houses, and its storytelling stages did brisk trade. Prosperity, however, can be fleeting. The rise and fall of a city, amidst the fortunes of the nation and the currents of the times, is but a small ripple. It wasn't long before this town, so closely connected to the prosperity of the canal, faced a major turning point. In the midst of its bustling markets, a group of unfamiliar visitors quietly arrived. Two years after the Huizhou opera troupe left Linqing and headed north, the canal welcomed a special fleet. The largest British embassy to China in history was returning from Beijing to the south. In 1792, eager to expand its global markets, Britain dispatched a large delegation led by envoy George Macartney, ostensibly to congratulate the Emperor Qianlong on his birthday. Its real purpose was to ask the Qing court to open up ports for trade. The request was met with refusal by Qianlong. His policy of isolationism and restricted trade curtailed China's active engagement with the world. Unaware of global changes that were then afoot, Qianlong allowed the British delegation to travel south along the canal, so he could demonstrate his empire's prosperity and power. Along the way, he ordered local governments to muster troops and organize displays of military might. Passing through Linqing, the British mission was impressed by the Linqing County Tower, standing on the canal bank. This copperplate engraving, depicted by a painter accompanying the mission, meticulously portrays scenes of civilian life along the banks of the northern canal at that time.
他们当时画的这个铜版画，在照相术没有这个发明之前呢，就直接可以作为照片来看，很真实的记录了这个临清的当时的这个社会场景。沿河都是渔火一片，灿若群星。
Departing from Linqing, Macartney and his entourage continued their boat journey south. In his diary, he described the Grand Canal as extremely ingenious, connecting the provinces of China from north to south. Along the way, however, the British delegation also witnessed signs of decline beneath the prosperity. The infantry wore jackets made of dark blue cotton, adorned with red ribbon trimmings, rough and heavy, unsuitable for combat. The British even noted secretly, there is no specialized factory for manufacturing gunpowder anywhere in the country. They only have a few firearms, and they believe more in their swords and bows than in their muskets. As a part of the global trading system and a potential adversary, the British were assessing China. They would return, half a century later, with greater determination. In 1842, the HMS Cornwallis appeared in the waters off Zhenjiang, serving as one of the main warships of invading British forces.
英军当时从6月份攻占了吴淞口之后，他就采取了沿长江直上镇江的这样的一个战略，所以英军他选择往镇江突袭来攻占镇江，就是为了把清政府江南七府漕粮北运的这个通道给它彻底的切断。一旦他控制了镇江，他就可以控制江南七府漕粮的北运。
A grain fleet that had originally planned to sail southward halted its journey at Guazhou Ferry in Jiangsu, afraid of being intercepted by British warships. Guazhou Ferry, where Marco Polo once marveled at the prosperity of Hanbali, now found itself at the mercy of the British forces. Stationed just across the river in Zhenjiang, they had cut the Qing government's lifeline.
清政府意识到了这个长江上现实威胁的存在，那么他在此之后再次提起了自元明以来沉寂数百年的漕运改海运的这么一个想法。
More than a decade after the Opium War, the Yellow River burst its banks, leading to the silting up of the Grand Canal and obstructing transportation. This was followed by the spread of the Taiping Rebellion to areas south of the Yangtze River, which further disrupted inland water traffic. Faced with natural disasters and human conflicts, the Qing government shifted grain shipping to the sea. By the late 19th century, the use of steamships had significantly reduced the cost of maritime freight. Then in 1900, the Qing government officially abandoned the canal system. Cities like Linqing, Huaiyan, and Yangzhou, which once thrived along the Grand Canal, never regained their former prosperity. With the cessation of the grain transport and the interruption of northern routes, it seemed that the Grand Canal had achieved its purpose and was now in decline. At this time, China faced both internal turmoil and external threats. Countless scholars and patriots began to reflect and strategize on ways to save the nation from peril. Relying on the southern segments of the canal that remained navigable, some pioneers in the cities along the canal began to explore and develop national industry and commerce.
这个呢，就是晚清时候薛家造丝厂从意大利引进的先进的这个造丝设备。一个是它的效率高，第二个呢就是它的这个烧出的这个丝的这个鲜度和匀度都可以大大的提高。
Influenced by the ideas of his father Xue Fuqing, who was a Wuxi native and leading figure in China's self-strengthening movement, Xue Naming used the transport offered by the canal to develop a modern silk business. The Xue family's Yongtai filature was one of China's earliest and most important mechanized silk mills. It introduced scientific management methods and independently designed and produced China's first multi-end reeling machine. After the self-strengthening movement and the First Sino-Japanese War, a large number of nationalist capitalists believed in the idea of rejuvenating the country through industry. Their factories flourished along the Grand Canal in areas south of the Yangtze River. Although sections were closed, so it no longer connected north and south, the waterway continued to support the development of national industry and commerce. With the Beijing-Shanghai Railway opening in 1912, railways were now replacing canals as the principal means for transportation. This was the year that the last feudal dynasty in Chinese history came to an end. The emperors may have gone, but the people of China, who were brought together by the waterway they built, are more united than ever. With no divisions, they faced the surging waves of change in a transformative era together. The story of the Grand Canal is far from over. Alongside its ancient motherland, the 21st century has witnessed nothing less than its rebirth.